The Sixth Axis podcast.
Hello and welcome to another entry in our The Year According to series of podcasts. As per usual, I am your host, Kris. In this series, we are talking to people about their 2015s, which is it's people from the gaming community, it's developers, it's people from TSA staff, it's all those kind of people, and we just want to know what they thought of 2015 and also some of their highlights in terms of games they've played this year. Today, I am joined by Leighton, who is the reviews editor over at TheSixthAxis. Say hello, Dom.
Hello, Dom.
Oh, of course. Classic joke. Classic.
Well, this is what happens if you listen to the Sixth Axis podcast every week.
Yeah, exactly. Jokes come back up again. So tell me about your 2015. You became reviews editor this year, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've been reviews editor since January.
Okay.
I think.
It's pretty much the whole year.
Yeah, which was nice when Tef got promoted, and that meant that I took his job.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's been a good year on the reviews front. I think we've on the whole managed to cover nearly everything that been big on the radar, and a lot of the sort of smaller indie titles as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think covering those small titles is becoming increasingly important now.
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially when like PS Plus actually pushes these kind of games into people's hands.
Yeah.
And I think people, even if like Xbox Live and stuff hadn't brought it into the forefront when they did, which I think if you look at like the last 7-8 years, people have become far more accepting of smaller titles. But now people are actually genuinely seeing them as week by week, that they are genuine games that they are going to play and experience, and they take utterly different approaches to all of these big, massive titles that cost millions and millions of pounds to make.
It is really interesting, particularly your point about PlayStation Plus, that I think it's really great that Sony are like making a genuine effort to get these games, as you say, literally into the hands of customers, even if sometimes people seem to complain a little bit about the lineup there.
I love going on PlayStation blog after they've announced what's coming out, and the amount of vitriol that people obviously give. And I know, comparatively, when you had PS Plus at the beginning, and on PS3 you were getting your AAA titles, and I do understand that people wanted more, but the PS4's library base is only coming up on 2 years old now, and these indie titles that people have got through PS Plus, I think arguably stuff like Rocket League, people have discovered that these games are amazing. I know a lot of people don't like the pixel art stuff and things that they feel aren't pushing the power of the console, but Xbox Live you used to pay for, you didn't get any of this free stuff back in the day, and it was for the online infrastructure. And obviously Sony have gone down that route, but you're still getting some free games. And yeah, I think it's great.
And although you have now got like the Games for Gold thing, that definitely wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Sony.
Oh, no way. Yeah, no way. Xbox and Microsoft have obviously played a lot of catch up, particularly the last couple of years.
Absolutely,
and they've looked at where Sony's successes have been, and in all fairness to them, Microsoft have really learned. 2 years ago, looking at what they'd done with Xbox One was a car crash.
Yeah, it really was.
I'd been a really solid Xbox gamer. I had the original Xbox, which I saw as being sort of an evolution of the Dreamcast, really. Very similar controllers. And then I got the Xbox 360 at launch, and I would say for the next 5 years, I'd look over the fence at PlayStation, and there were games coming out that I wanted, stuff like Uncharted and Gran Turismo, but I never jumped on. And then it started to wane towards the end with the 360. Picked up a PS3, and absolutely loved it. And some of my absolute favourite games of the generation were on PS3. And that meant that PS4 was an easy choice. And particularly then, with everything that they did wrong with Xbox One, it was just a massive turn-off for people. Now I've got both, and depending, I mean, if it's a multi-platform game, I'll still always buy it on PS4 generally, because it will play better. But the exclusives that you're getting through on Xbox One, like Forza and Halo, still make it an attractive machine. And as with anything, it comes down to the exclusives more than anything else, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really true. But I also kind of think to an extent we're seeing exclusives, particularly third-party exclusives, are dying off these days. And I find that interesting to see where we're going to end up in the future.
Yeah, I think, obviously, the way that Sony have gone about it, and they've tied up some really, really good stuff. Stuff like Street Fighter 5, and obviously like No Man's Sky and things like that. But stuff like the Tomb Raider thing with the timed exclusive that Xbox have, and you do wonder how much Square are sort of regretting putting their eggs in the Microsoft basket with it, really. They must have made it worth their while. They wouldn't have done it otherwise, but it is, it's a funny thing. And I don't know, largely I don't like it. I think if you buy a console for the exclusives and for the Sony games or the Microsoft games, then yeah, but then buying into other people's titles and boxing them off, particularly when those titles appeared on the other side previously, I think it just creates a bad feeling. And stuff like Street Fighter, when Xbox 360 was what you played Street Fighter 4 on, any of the tournaments and stuff, it was Xbox 360, and now it's all jumping ship to the other side. I
mean, that always interests me, when you did have something that was previously on both, and as you said, like Street Fighter going exclusive, it's just you're just annoying customers, right?
Yeah,
like, you're just annoying your fan base and your customers, and how is that a good thing?
It can't be.
No, it never is. And yeah, I think like Tomb Raider, I would say perhaps the only difference with Tomb Raider is I don't think Square Enix would have made it otherwise.
Right.
Like I
don't think?
I don't think if Microsoft hadn't given them the money, I think they would have been hesitant to make another.
See, no, well, I don't know. That surprises me
because they talked about how the original didn't sell to the point where they wanted it to, and things like that. And so then you get into the basic, like, is it worth our money to do this? Is the return on investment significant enough without this guaranteed income from whatever Microsoft paid them to do it, whatever Microsoft paid them, or said, well, we'll pick up the marketing tab or something like that, because you don't know what the details are, because sometimes it is sometimes like literally, well, we'll pay for marketing on this because that's such a huge chunk of budgets for games now.
Yeah. I think it's interesting as well that originally Tomb Raider and Uncharted would have gone head to head this Christmas.
Yeah, that would have been very interesting to see the results of that.
And obviously, you do expect that Microsoft looked at that and went, we need something that's like Uncharted.
Absolutely.
Let's get the exclusivity on Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
But as it's ended up, what you actually have is that Xbox now have more exclusives this Christmas.
Yep.
And Tomb Raider's hit well before Uncharted and reviewed positively.
Yeah.
More or less across the board.
Didn't sell fabulously. At least we didn't see good sales figures here in the UK particularly.
No. But, Xbox is failing here. Well, not failing, losing the battle at the moment. Whereas I think it did sell a lot better over in the US, which is traditionally the Microsoft stronghold, and obviously they have started selling more consoles, even so much as overtaking Sony last month.
Yeah, which is I think it's good if the market's competitive. I don't care who wins or loses particularly, but you just want the market to be competitive because it drives people forwards.
Yeah, and you look at what both of them have done this generation so far, and they're both learning from each other, and one's seeing that the other has done this, and that's making the others fight for it. So stuff like the PS4 backwards compatibility for PS2, you kind of hope that they will make more of that. Then the cynic in me says that they will. Yeah, whether they'll just use it to make you pay yet again for the games that you already have is an interesting question. But yeah, the backwards compatibility battle at the moment is quite fun because it's like you say, it's making them both work harder, and that's only good for us.
So I want to talk to you more about your role at TSA in a bit, but before we do that, we do ask people to pick a few of their favourite games for the year. I know you had a very hard time choosing because I asked people to narrow it down to like a max of 3. But what have you selected?
Well, first off, I've gone for Lego Jurassic World, which is a game that I don't think I would normally have ever picked amongst my things to talk about. Except that this really is the first game that me and my little boy Noah have played together. He's 4 now, and he loves dinosaurs. He loves Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And when this game came out for review, he just went nuts over it. And we've now played 140 hours ish of it. We got the platinum, we did everything in it. We got to 110 hours, and then he managed to delete the save game. So we started. So we started again. This is the only one of the things about having children is that you've got to learn not to be precious about save games because he can't read. He's learning to read and write. He's just started primary school, but he can't read. And we did play. It's the Burke. What's it called? How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Sort of build your own town game on the iPad. And him and me played that avidly for about 4 or 5 months. Even so much that I was putting money in through microtransactions to get more stuff and to speed up things, and we played it all day long. And then one day I came home and found that all the all the dragons had gone. And he'd released every single one of them back into the wild. And it's a silly iOS game, but I was gutted.
Yeah.
I was utterly gutted.
Understandably so.
Lego Jurassic World I wasn't quite so upset about, really, because I'm actually quite sick of it now. And having to go back to the beginning and removing all of the cheats and all of the stuff that we'd unlocked actually made it a bit interesting again. But it's such an amazing thing playing these games with him, and watching him get into this stuff is epic. It's a lot of fun. But he now tells me what to do and what to play. And he'll happily play Lego Jurassic World on his own, and he'll get to a tough bit, hand me the pad, and I'll do a little bit and then give it back, and he'll crack on.
Well, we were talking about this at EGX. It was like he can't do the flying or something.
Yeah, the gliding. So you have to jump and then press X very quickly again to open your hang glider.
Okay.
So that's too tough for him. And there's still that classic Lego problem of some of the jumps that aren't very easy to do. Even, I mean, he got stuck at one bit in the Jurassic World section a couple of days ago, and it took me a couple of goes to do it because they still haven't quite eradicated that. Even though at other points in the Lego games now, you go up to where you need to jump and then an X icon appears and you just hit X and it jumps automatically. So I don't know why they've left some finicky bits in there still. Hopefully they'll either get rid of them or make it a bit more sensible about how they work. Since we've got Lego Avengers coming next year.
I hadn't noticed that was coming.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be out for this Christmas, but I think they held it back because of Lego Dimensions.
I was going to say, they've got Lego Dimensions doing plenty for them already.
Yeah. Well, as long as you've got extremely deep pockets. I mean, I reviewed the Doctor Who pack a couple of weeks ago, and it is a brilliant piece of fan service, particularly the Doctor Who bit and the main game as well. But when you look at how much those packs cost, and well, you probably expect that most parents would not buy their child every single one, and most children won't be into every single one of those properties.
I think that's one of the reasons it kind of seems more forgiving than the other ones. Because if you think about like Skylanders or something, because it's all Skylanders, kids want all the Skylanders.
Yeah.
Compared to like, are kids going to be interested in every single property that's in Lego Dimensions?
Yeah. I mean, like, Noah has absolutely no understanding of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
He knows The Wizard of Oz, because we've watched that with him. And Ninjago as well, which is a Lego property, and he's never come across that. So, yeah, he won't be into every single one.
Yeah.
And you can play the whole game with the 3 characters and the Batmobile that come in the pack.
Yeah.
And since they've now patched it in as well that you can unlock all of the extra characters for a period of time, so you can actually do more or less everything in the game now just with the base pack. It isn't such a bad thing, but I love the way it's done. I think it's incredibly clever, and I mean, I love Lego and I grew up with it. But the fact that you get a little Lego DeLorean in the Back to the Future pack, and then you build it, and then you get to an extra bit, and then you build it again and turn it into something different, is incredibly clever. It really is. And I know it's incredibly clever because it's going to make money, but that doesn't stop how well done it is. And I think in the scheme of the Toys to Games one, I mean, we've got a lot of the Disney Infinity stuff, but Lego, you can actually play with it. Noah's got loads of other Lego, and it works with all of that Lego, and it's the actual thing. It's actually the building blocks that everything else is made out of. Whereas like your Disney and your Skylanders, they look really cool, but they're not great for playing with. I mean, we've got the new Disney Infinity Luke Skywalker. He doesn't have a lightsaber anymore.
And
that,
Noah.
Well, and that upsets me.
I like that upsets you.
Well, it does. He doesn't notice, but the OCD Star Wars fan in me.
Of course he doesn't notice. He doesn't care.
No, he really doesn't. But yeah, but they're not. They're just not as good to play with.
Yeah,
they're not.
Sure. I mean, I don't know how it works in Lego Dimensions. Is there a special brick that is like the connecty brick? You know, the one that's got the RFID tag or whatever it is in it.
Yeah. So every single one of them comes with a NFC base, and that's what works on the portal. You can actually just play the game with the bases on there, and all the toys can be scattered about the living room.
Which I imagine that happens.
Yeah, because no one wants to play with the Batmobile in the DeLorean, so they're off speeding around the sofa
Yeah.
while their bases sit on the platform. But that's good. That's how kids want to play.
Yeah, exactly. It's much more because Lego are a toy company. They've thought it through a lot more than I think anyone else has.
Yeah.
And the base is like it's not just like a brick. Then it's quite obviously like this is a different thing. So I was just thinking you don't want it to get mixed in with the rest of the Lego.
No. But all of the character bases have logos on, so you couldn't get confused about that. Slightly annoyingly, all of the vehicles don't. Can take a bit of a memory or a test.
Yeah.
To see what you've actually got. But well, that's proper first world problems there, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that is a little bit, yeah. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about your role as reviews editor at TSA.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, well, normally every week I'll look at what's coming out, and then between me, Tef, and Jim, the features editor, we'll sort of see who talks to which companies. In a lot of cases, the sort of the main ones. Tef's got a lot of the good links there, so people like Sony and Ubisoft. He'll just fire off an email to them, and then we'll be sorted. But I guess my role is to kind of hopefully make sure that we stay on top of what's coming out. And I've built up in the last year a few contacts with some game companies. So same as anything, hopefully you build relationships with those people, and that makes them like you a bit more. So they're a bit keener to give you code over all of the other sites. I think we've got a relatively good reputation at the Sixth Axis for well-written reviews and for covering stuff and taking the code and doing with it what you're supposed to do with it. And hopefully that means that the site gets really good content. So I do that once a week on the whole, and then most nights I'm editing other people's pieces, and making sure, along with Tef and Jim, that we've got stuff for the next day. And then obviously trying to get people to write the reviews, which in some cases is very easy, particularly if it's a big release and you've got a number of people interested in that. Other times it's very hard, and you end up reviewing things yourself that you maybe didn't want to review, like Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, or various other things that may not be quite up your street. But then again, I think maybe that helps keep you a little bit grounded in what you do. And obviously, if you only reviewed stuff that you were interested in, everything would end up with a probably inflated score.
Yeah, that's very true.
But we're really lucky. I mean, we've got lots of people now who write for us and who are happy to cover games and write reviews. So on the whole, that means that we get to have the stuff and get it out on time and hit an embargo, and hopefully bring more people to the site.
Well, that's always what you want, really.
Yeah.
More people sharing the love.
Yeah.
But obviously, for everyone, TSA is a volunteer thing. So you have a day job, which I believe has changed this year, right? Because you were a publican before.
I'm still a publican.
Oh yeah, I remember now. You are still a publican. You're doing 2 jobs, technically 3 jobs if you include TSA.
Yeah. My wife thinks I'm mental, and perhaps I am. But yeah, so I'm landlord of a pub. We've got a pub in Lancaster, which we've been here for 2.5 years now, and we're tenants, which basically means that you rent the building from a pub company, you pay them rent, and you run your business out of there. But generally, if you're tied in with a pub co, there's a number of clauses that come with that, like who you can buy your beer from and what you can do, kind of thing. Our thing really was that the pub co that we were in is a slightly shaky one. It's a locally family-run business, but they've sold a lot of the pubs recently. So when I got offered a job by Oakham Ales, which is a brewery in Peterborough, we looked at it and we went and talked to the pub co about it and went, well, I've been offered a job. Can you guarantee where we're going to be next year? And they couldn't. They could not. So I accepted the job. And for the last 2.5 months, I have been National Sales Executive for Oakham Ales, which basically means driving around to other people's pubs and hopefully getting them to take our beer. And yeah, apart from traffic jams, it's a really good job. Oakham are a fantastic company, really friendly, and sort of very. It's not a family business, but it's definitely got a good community about it. And even though I'm on the road most of the time, I'm not in the brewery where the core of everybody is, but everybody's always really, really friendly when you do go down there, and it's a nice business, and I think they make very good beer.
You do seem to spend a lot of time sampling beer, shall we say?
That doesn't sound like doesn't sound very good, Chris. But, well, it is very good. Obviously, a big part of the role is supporting the product.
I see.
And market research.
Okay.
Which means that we do go out to places that have our beer on, and we do spend nights sampling it, and we do meet the brewer nights and things like that. And those things are very important, very, very important. And moderately enjoyable.
Only moderately enjoyable.
Well, we can't have too much fun, Chris.
That's very true. You are working, apparently. It's what you tell all of us on Slack.
It is a job. It is part of my job. So
I'm sure it's a very arduous part of your job.
Yeah. So that's my 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job, and then we still have the pub around that. Luckily, we've got a really amazing team of staff, and since Noah went to school, Shell's had more time to do more of the paperwork and stuff that needs doing during the day. So she works more around the pub while me and Noah are out. And then I do a few little bits around the pub through the week and maybe the odd shift. But overall, I think family life actually works better this way. It doesn't sound like it should work better. It sounds like my head should explode.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it doesn't. It all fits together quite well. I would touch wood, but it'll make noise on the microphone, and Tef told me off for doing that the other day.
All right. We've got other stuff to talk about, but let's talk about your next game.
Okay,
go for it.
Okay, my next choice was Affordable Space Adventures on the Wii U, which really is one of my games of the year. Taking a moment to talk about the Wii U. I love the Nintendo Wii U. I think it's such an underrated little console. Shell loves it because I don't annoy her so much. I can just, with a lot of the titles, play on the screen. So I don't have to take over the television in the living room. But I think, especially, the first party titles that are on there, Nintendo's output is of a very high quality, 95% of the time. But when you tie in the exclusives as well, stuff like Bayonetta 2, and Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. These are games that I've spent a lot of time with, an absolutely huge chunk of time with. And then most recently, Xenoblade Chronicles X as well, which just go to show that despite the fact it's been a misunderstood machine, it when in the right hands is absolutely sung. And I think it's a shame that obviously next year it's going to be superseded, and Nintendo are going to put out the NX, and we probably be saying goodbye to the Wii U. Certainly by the end of next year, I would expect. But yeah, Affordable Space Adventures is an indie title that appeared on there, and frankly is amongst the most coherent uses of the Wii U gamepad that it's ever had. So it's basically you're supposed to be traveling to a space colony, and your ship crashes, and you end up with your little spaceship stuck on this foreign planet. Now, the Wii U gamepad screen is basically the control panel of your spaceship, and it controls everything that your ship can do. So sort of the gravity meter, the throttle, everything, and various parts of it sort of unlock as you go further through the game, or at times it gets damaged or it breaks down. And it's called Affordable Space Adventures is because you've basically flown with this budget space travel line. So everything doesn't work quite the way it should at various points. And yeah, so the main aim of the game is you're trying to get to a message beacon to send out a distress signal. And every single one of the distress signals that you come across for most of the game don't work. But largely it's a puzzle game. But then the other aspect of it as well is that you can play it in multiplayer as well. And each person takes one aspect of the ship. So one person is controlling how it flies, while the other person is controlling its gravity levels and this, that, and the other. So you form this team as if you were all flying in the cockpit of this ship, like it's the budget Starship Enterprise. And it's amazing. Obviously, everything goes horribly wrong as you're trying to play with everybody else. And everybody just shouts at everybody because they keep crashing the ship. But it's a phenomenal little game. It can be hilariously funny. It can be really quite deep, and certainly as you're getting through towards the end of the game, not giving anything away, it's very smart in how it presents itself and what it does, and again how it uses the gamepad is just incredible. And that sort of level of innovation really is what you kind of hoped you would get out of everything on the Wii U. And it hasn't obviously panned out that way because it's tough. It obviously is very, very tough to come up with a way that using a second screen that's potentially in your lap and trying to play a game on a big screen in front of you, how that all marries together is not that simple. You'd think it should play like a mini DS, but it doesn't. And that, well, yeah. But yeah, Affordable Space Adventures. If you own a Wii U, you really, really should check it out.
Yeah, it does sound really interesting. I kind of like the idea that everything just keeps going wrong.
It really does keep going wrong. There's a wonderful bit where it sort of it like crashes, and you think that the game's crashed, and then it sort of starts loading up with the old MS-DOS or basic login thing, so it's like 1024K and it all sort of has to reboot, but you actually think that the game's gone wrong.
That's pretty neat. I like that.
So yeah, it's really, really nice little title.
Yeah, it does sound really enjoyable. All right, well, one of the things you mentioned to me when we were talking about this beforehand was that you helped make a baby. Was your exact phrasing.
That seemed like a good way of putting it. Yes, so me and Shell are expecting our second.
It makes it sound like it was like a craft project.
Shelley's going to kill me if that's
just don't let her listen to this.
If that's
Don't
how it
tell
comes
her.
across. No, it's. I mean, obviously Noah's amazing, and he's 4.5, and I think it's a very. We've been very lucky that the timing for our second will be just before he's 5. So hopefully that's not too much of a gap. And Noah loves other children. He's got lots of cousins who he loves playing with. So we think he's just going to go absolutely mental about having a little brother or sister, which we're not going to find out what it is.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah. So somehow I've managed to convince Shell that not finding out is the way to go. Somehow. But I think she's looking at me a bit now. She wanted to find out, but somehow I used mystical mind powers, and by the end of the conversation, she agreed that we weren't going to find out. And so it's going to be a surprise, which Shell is terrible at surprises, and already wants to tell me what she's bought me for Christmas, even though I don't want to know.
That's not good.
I quite like surprises, but
I'm indifferent towards surprises, but I think like for a Christmas present, I like a surprise present.
Yeah,
that's always good.
Well, me too. But hopefully she's going to hold back from actually telling me what my Christmas present is till Christmas Day, and then I can be surprised. Although she's making a face that says that she's not.
It's not too long to go.
No. Well, this is it. How many days now is it?
I mean, we're recording. This isn't going to go up for ages, but we're recording on the 2nd. So, like,
23 days.
Yeah, that's not too far.
You can hold on for 23 days.
It's like that's 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks, basically.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It's nothing.
Yeah.
She's going to tell me.
She is. I'm sure she will. I'm sure I'll get it in Slack one day.
Yeah.
Just anger.
I know what I'm getting.
You have to make sure you put it in Slack if she tells you.
Yeah. I'll put it on Twitter.
Okay, good. I suppose the surprise element is good, kind of. I don't really know if you need to make a pregnancy more interesting, though. It seems like it's interesting enough as it goes.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's very exciting. But we decided not to. We decided to find out with Noah, with him being the first. Which obviously you want to be prepared and get everything ready, and we painted the room and everything. Whereas the second one, hopefully, we feel very well prepared indeed. So that last element of having the surprise that you're never going to have that kind of surprise ever again in your life.
Yeah.
Seems like a good time to do it.
It does seem like a good time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if it's going to be Shell or Noah who goes crazy first.
Well, Noah's convinced it's a boy.
Oh, okay.
So he's already decided.
He's fine then.
Yeah. He knows what it is. And we'll find out if he's disappointed in 6 months' time.
Yeah, do you think he'd be alright if it was a girl?
He will. He loves his baby cousins that are girls, but he is convinced that this is a boy.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, yeah, boys always want brothers. Girls want sisters and boys want brothers. No one wants the other one.
Yeah. No.
I think so. I think that's true. I suppose, like, sometimes girls want little brothers that they can, like, mould, which is kind of weird.
Maybe.
But
Maybe.
I think boys always want brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think they do. So.
Yeah.
It's obviously cheaper on the old hand-me-down clothes front.
Yeah, will make your life a lot easier if it's a boy.
Yeah.
It'll be much simpler.
Yeah.
It's nice though, because you don't, like, not a lot of people want to wait anymore. Lots of people seem to just want to know these days.
Well, I think technology is so good, isn't it, that you can tell, and everybody gets the picture, and it seems like it is now the end thing to find out.
Definitely. All right, well, baby talk has been concluded, so let's talk about your final game before we wrap things up.
Okay.
So this was the one that you couldn't decide what you wanted to pick. So what have you selected?
Okay, it was a tough choice, but I've decided to go for Star Wars Battlefront.
Okay.
On the basis that not only do I think I've been enjoying it a lot since I reviewed it, I've carried on playing with some slight limitations in the fact that really I carry on playing only 2 modes of the game now. So I'm only really playing Walker Assault, which is the main mode, which has everything in it, and the Fighter Squadron, flying the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters. Those are definitely my 2 favourite, and I've continued to sink lots of time into them. That's not to say that the rest of the modes aren't as good, but I think I prefer the larger scale battles. I think that's the thing. The other ones on the smaller maps can feel a little claustrophobic, perhaps. I think that might be the thing about it. But I've still really enjoyed playing it. Probably that comes down to the fact that I'm a ridiculously huge Star Wars fan. And that had kind of sort of fallen away a bit over the last 5 years, perhaps. I read all of the books that started coming out, sort of the Timothy Zahn books and all that kind of thing. But obviously, with the Force Awakens coming out in December, it's kind of renewed my interest in it. So I'm again reading all of the books that are coming out in the new Star Wars canon, reading the comic books, watching Star Wars Rebels on TV.
I do like Star Wars Rebels. Star
Wars Rebels is amazing.
It's really good.
And I mean, this is from... I didn't really get on that well with the Clone Wars. At times, it was good, but I found a lot of it a bit twee. I didn't always like the style of it. But Star Wars Rebels is proper Star Wars. And I think that's the thing, is that they've really captured what makes the series what it is. And yeah, I mean, so far this second season is utterly brilliant. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I thought they would be hard pressed to top the first season, but the second season is doing really well.
Yeah. I think, and the stuff that one of the comic books that I've read is Kanan the Last Padawan as well. And those characters, they're really well written, well rounded characters, and their expansion into the universe is being done really well. I think the only problem is that it's got to end badly, because by the time you get to Star Wars, there's no Jedi. There's certainly no Jedi in the Rebellion.
Yes, you suspect it ends badly.
So it kind of has to go horribly wrong. But they've just renewed it for season 3.
Well, they've got plenty of time, because it's like how many years is it set before the first Star Wars?
Well, I think Princess Leia is still a little girl in it, isn't she?
Yeah, it's like 13 years or something beforehand.
Yeah. So
they've got a long. It can run for a while before things have to go bad.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously, like there's tons of characters that they can use who can come in and out of it, both from the Clone Wars TV series and from the movies. So yeah, I think. And particularly while it's going so well and being so well written, there's no reason for them to call an end to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they all got to die, really, and that's a shame.
Yeah, I kind of. I'm hoping they manage to write their way around it a little bit, but I'm pretty sure you're right.
It's canon. Plain and simple, unless they all get shot out onto a barren planet that they can never escape again or something, which is a bit of a cop-out, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or by some really random plan, they're going to turn up, or somebody from it's going to turn up in The Force Awakens, and that they've been away hiding, like Yoda did on Dagobah.
Yeah.
I guess you don't know.
No, I think if they do go out, it's going to be based on how that show goes. Like if / when they go out, it's going to be something spectacular, though.
Yeah. Well, I think really Ezra has to turn to the dark side. I think that's going to be the thing. And then Kanan's going to have to put him down.
Yeah.
And because already, like the most recent episode, Ezra his Jedi skills are really increasing, and he's turning into a fully fledged Padawan at the moment. But you can kind of see that there is that anger there, and I think that they'll play on that more and more. I do, but I'm really enjoying it. And I really can't wait for The Force Awakens. And obviously now on Star Wars Battlefront, you've got the Battle of Jakku as well, which is sort of a key battle between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And you can play that now.
You can. So I saw you were streaming it earlier.
That was Tef. I wasn't streaming.
But who was in with him? What was you?
I don't know.
He was playing it with someone. It sounded like you.
It wasn't me.
I don't know who it was, but you just sound northern, so.
Oh, right, okay. He was playing with some other northern person. There's more people than me in the north.
I didn't know that. So, have you played the Battle of Jakku then?
Not yet.
Still waiting.
It's downloaded.
Okay.
But I've been at work, so it hasn't happened. Maybe straight after this.
Well, I won't keep you alarmed too much longer then. But you are liking Battlefront overall.
Yeah, I think the biggest shame is that I will buy the season pass. I'm going to buy the season pass on two fronts, in that I've enjoyed what is there enough to buy the season pass, and I'm a massive Star Wars fan. But in my review, and it pained me to give a 7 out of 10 to a Star Wars game. But obviously that's the thing, that you have to remain objective, and you can't just let your crazy Star Wars head sit on your shoulders and go, it's a 10 out of 10, because it looks and sounds like Star Wars, which it does. And it's phenomenal at looking and sounding like Star Wars. But yeah, I think the fact that I feel like I have to spend £40 to get the full experience is, well, it's not just annoying, it's ridiculous, really. And it's a shame that, and it's not just EA who are doing it with their games, there's plenty of other people. But obviously Star Wars Battlefront is a massive high profile release, and I think everybody potentially is feeling shortchanged by it. It's nice that the Battle of Jakku is free DLC.
And that is good, actually.
And maybe over the next 6 to 12 months, if they do drop more of that stuff in, alongside the season pass, and the season pass is even more substantial sort of modes and things, then perhaps a bit like Drive Club, they can pull back a lot of the goodwill that they've potentially lost at launch. But yeah, I think I hope that we see some space battles. That's what I want to see in some of the forthcoming modes. Because at some point, particularly like the single player missions, are very, very similar to what you used to play in Rogue Squadron. And I love Rogue Squadron. And frankly, if they dropped in a couple of modes later on, which were more or less single player or co-op modes that played like the Rogue Squadron games with Star Wars Battlefront graphics, then I might never put it down again. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's the same issue as Siege, I think.
Yeah.
Multiplayer is fun, and there's nothing wrong with multiplayer, but it sometimes just feels a game like leaving a little... It feels hollow, almost.
Yeah.
It feels like missed potential, almost.
Yeah, I think there's nothing to form that attachment with, is there? So you don't come away with that warm feeling of having taken your character, whether that's a written character or somebody you've created, through that experience of whatever story that they've told, and coming out the other side of it. And I do think there is that argument of having that forms a certain bond between a player and a game, that then maybe they want to take part in the multiplayer. I think a lot of multiplayer modes that I have played over the years are because I've really enjoyed the single player game and I've wanted to carry on playing it. And I've finished the single player, so now I can play the multiplayer, and in theory, playing a multiplayer can be an almost infinite experience, can't it? But yeah, I think it is a shame, and again, maybe Star Wars Battlefront part of the DLC will be some kind of campaign or a mini campaign, and I think Star Wars fans and Battlefront fans would lap it up.
I think they definitely would, and I don't know. Like you say, there's so much there, particularly with the realism they've got here, with what they've managed to put into this. It's just there's so much they could do, and it would be brilliant.
Yeah.
At least you kind of hope, because there's that other EA game that's being worked on that I think Amy Hennig is working on, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping DICE are going to share the engine.
Yes.
You want them to, because that's... Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
Well, and
that's the best bit of this game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, from what I've seen, and I played the beta, I haven't played the full version, but from what I've seen in the bits I've played, the gameplay is good and it's enjoyable, but the engine is where it's really at. Like, they've just done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they can put that in a story game, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It really is.
Let's hope they do.
I really hope they do, and I trust Amy Hennig to put together some interesting story elements.
Yeah, and if she can turn her hand from Uncharted sort of, and how well. I mean, I love those narratives, and I think the story of Uncharted probably overrides how it plays. And those characters and stuff are just incredibly well crafted, and if we can get a Star Wars game of that caliber, then we'll be in for a treat.
Definitely. Right, I'm going to wrap things up in that case.
Cool.
Let's draw a veil over this and pull things to a close.
It's been a Christmas present.
Like your Christmas present. It's been wonderful talking to you today, Dom. We don't talk much, really. We should talk more.
Yeah. Well,
nice.
You never call. You never ring.
I know. It's because I'm afraid I'll reveal what your Christmas present is. That's the problem.
Ah. Well, got my eye on you now.
Right. Well, Where can people get you on the Twitter?
I am on the Twitter at Dom Leighton.
Excellent. And obviously you can find all your writing and that on TheSixthAxis.com.
Yeah, there's some scribbles on there too.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for joining me today. That's going to wrap up another entry in our Year According to series. We'll be back very soon with even more interviews, but for now, goodbye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
The Sixth Axis Podcast.